Welcome to another webinar in the Industrial Heating Equipment Association series on sustainability and decarbonization. I'm Kelly LeCount, and on behalf of IHEA, thank you all for joining us. We're happy to share this important information on sustainability and decarbonization for everyone in the industrial heating industry. In addition to this webinar series, IHEA is launching the 2024 Industrial Heating Decarbonization Summit, which is coming soon on October 28th through 30th in Indianapolis, Indiana. The purpose of the summit is to help companies in our industry forge a sustainable path to decarbonization. Registration for the summit is open now at summit.ihea.org, so check it out for all the details. Before we get started, I want to remind everyone that all attendees are on mute. If you have any questions along the way, please type them in the questions panel. The speaker will address questions at the end of the webinar. All attendees will receive a brief survey after the webinar. It'll take just a few moments to reply, and we appreciate your feedback as IHEA continues this critical initiative for the industrial heat processing industry. One last announcement, this webinar is being recorded and will be available in the sustainability area of the IHEA website within the next few days. You'll receive an email once that link is available. Now I'd like to introduce the presenter for today's webinar titled Reducing Your Carbon Footprint on a Budget. Mark Roy is the Vice President of Sales for Chiz Brothers, which is a refractory and high insulation company with a focus on ceramic fiber insulation. Chiz Brothers is a family-owned business that's proud to supply ceramic fiber blanket, board, and modules that are made in the USA. Mark, thank you for being here. Take it away.
All right, thank you very much, Kelly, and thank you everyone for tuning in to this webinar right before lunchtime. So I'll try to not drag it out too much so everyone can make it to lunch. So the title of this webinar, reducing your furnace carbon footprint on a budget. What we're going to talk about today from a agenda standpoint is, one, reducing the carbon footprint on a budget. Made in the USA equals green. Improving thermal performance, electric element systems, carbon-free heating. So really what we're going to do is start with some of the real basic things that we can do for our furnaces, in particular in regards to refractory and insulation, and then kind of build off that. And really, towards the end, we'll be talking about maybe some things that you may not consider on a budget, but still really good ways to do some carbon-free heating. So my screen's in front of me, so I'm going to turn my camera off now, and we will jump right into the meat of this here. So like Kelly said, Chiz Brothers Refractory High Temperature Insulation Company, specialized in ceramic fiber materials and furnace linings. Additionally, we design electrically heated ceramic fiber module systems. Also a small business, so we can relate to everybody who's trying to reduce their carbon footprint, go a little greener, but not necessarily having these big corporate dollars to do so. So in addition to some of this stuff that we do for our customers that I'll be talking about, there's also some things that we kind of do internally as a small business that I'll pop in as well. All right, so going green on a budget, I put greener because we're all, a lot of us are in the industrial space, and I don't want to sound like we can all just turn our gas furnaces off, right, and just have these magic green electric furnaces for everything, right? So the goal here is to try to take small steps, and I'd say really practical steps that can help you appease some of the pressures that are coming to go green. And I think that's really probably being driven obviously by the federal government, state governments, local governments, and we'll touch base on that a little bit later as well. If you're a part of a big company, You know, the shareholders obviously want to see some sort of green initiatives, and you know, that's something that a lot of these bullet points I'm going to go over can really help with, because they, you know, you can put them in a plan, you can make actionable items on them, and they do have measurability as well. So 4 of the things I'm going to hit on here, and in future slides we'll have some pictures and we'll talk a little bit about it more in depth. Keeping a door in good shape, you know, that's important. That's a way for heat to get out of your furnace. Seals and gaskets doing their job. Again, a way for heat to get out. How old are your burner blocks? Again, another spot for heat to get out. And if you got an antique brick furnace, you know, switching over that to fiber and some of the insulation benefits that go with that. So keeping that door in good shape. So what you'll see right here is a picture of a newly lined furnace door, small furnace door, small heat treating door. And the important aspects of the door, obviously, you know, I don't want to get into too much basics here on the functions of a furnace, but you know, that's the part of the furnace that's opening and closing the most, right? And if you don't have a good seal there, you're going to be leaking out heat. So, you know, the perimeter of these doors, you'll typically see it beat up over time, even if it's just regular wear and tear. You know, they're never going to seal as good as they did the first day they were in. But you know, if you have a good door program or door management program, you can really help with that, and you know, not kill yourself from a spending standpoint. You know, replacing fiber on the perimeter on a yearly, semi-yearly basis. You know, again, you're not replacing the whole thing. You can replace the perimeter, keep that door sealed tight, and you know, really save yourself some not only money, which I'll get into that later too, on the cost of gas and those things, but you know, it's just a good practice for furnace performance as well. And that's one thing that'll kind of be a theme here with some of these budget items, is outside of the effect of you know, calling it going green by reducing your gas usage and those things. It's really just good practice for maintaining your equipment as well. And I think it's something that we all struggle with a little bit in the day-to-day operation. Is, you know, we're usually being pushed so hard to produce more that you know, we kind of overlook some of this stuff. So, you know, if there's any maintenance managers on the call as well, you know, decarbonization can be a great key word to get your boss to give you some more money to make sure you're keeping doors in good shape, or some of the other things we're talking about here. So it's, you know, I think we can use the decarbonization word to our advantage to get some of the big bosses to loosen up the purse strings a little bit for items that are important for maintenance, not just for going green, but for running the equipment safely as well. So I'm sure everyone's seen a furnace where, you know, it looks like the furnace in the basement of Home Alone, right, where it's just blaring fire out all around. And that's not what you want, because that's BTUs, that's heat leaving, and that means you're going to be putting more gas in there. So good way to even test that would be, you know, if you have similar loads in a furnace with a fresh door versus a replacement door, you know, run a 24-hour, 48 cycle at a consistent temperature, and seeing what sort of gas usage difference you get. Another easy way to, not easy way, but another way to convince your bosses to let you invest more in maintenance. And then if you don't want to do that, the real easy way is just to you know, get a heat gun to shoot the temperatures at an unsealed door and a sealed door, and it'll tell you, you know, if the temperature is hotter, that means there's more heat escaping. And then if you don't have a heat gun, you know, you can do the old put your hand close but not too close. If there's any safety people on the line, they're probably not going to want to hear that, but you know, that's another way just to say, hey, if you can get your hand close to it, you're doing a great job of insulating the heat. If you can't, well, then you better fix that. Gaskets and seals, you know, sometimes these go along with doors as well, or if you got a car bottom, you know, the seals kind of at the bottom of the furnace car going in. But you know, ceramic fiber ropes, tadpole gaskets, you know, those are things that are sealing openings. And again, same concept as a door. If you don't have a good seal, you're going to be leaking. You know, I mean, think about it like cracking a window in your house when you've got the heat on in the wintertime, right? You know, you're going to have to pump in more heat because we got a bunch of it escaping out those seals. Again, you know, we're talking about relatively inexpensive materials in the big picture of running a plant, and they can go a long way to keeping the furnace running efficiently. Top left corner up there with the red background, and that's a gasket, similar to a gasket you may see on a burner as well. So again, we'll go into burners here shortly, but some of those gaskets connecting flanges, or even you know, connecting the stack or the exhaust on your furnace. Again, you want to make sure that you keep that sealed so it's not leaking out in spots it's not supposed to. Again, these are relatively inexpensive things, and you know, sometimes it's just you got to give yourself a reminder to check them, because the furnace can still run if some of these things are in bad shape, but you're just going to be spending more on gas than you're supposed to. And even if you have an electric furnace as well, right? You know, it's important to keep all these seals good, because while it may not be shown on your books burning gas, you know, your energy bill is still going to be going up. All right, I see the chat item blinking here. I don't know if that is something for me or not, but I'll let Kelly run that. So, burner block maintenance. You know, a lot of people have old furnaces, right? Especially in the heat treating industry, a lot of old furnaces. You know, a lot of the mantra, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, sort of thing. And you know, some of those burners burner systems aren't even supported anymore by the burner manufacturers because they're old, because there's only a handful of them around. You know, the burner company's got to be efficient and focus on the, you know, systems that are out there in mass. So you know, cracks in burner blocks can lead to a couple different things. Gas leaking, heat leaking, but then it can have inconsistent flame projection. I don't know, some of the burner people know a lot more about types of flames than me, but you know, inconsistencies there make it harder to tune the burners, and obviously sometimes you're burning more gas than you need to by not having a consistent burner. And then you always want to make sure there's a tight seal between the lining. I mean, that's something that happens a lot. You know, typically burners may get changed out more than the actual refractory furnace lining, so you want to make sure, you know, if you got a burner block like these here, that you wrap them up and you keep that seal tight. So old burners, no problem. Any type of burner block can be made. Some of my friends in the burner industry may not like that, but you know, yeah, I mean, you can cast refractory burners pretty easily. So you know, if you have an old burner block and you're thinking you can't get it somewhere, you know, there's not allowed to do any sales in this, but there's people out there you can call to help you out with that. Here. Right, next slide. Switching to fiber. So there's just a picture of some custom ceramic fiber modules, but you know, energy savings is increased with thermally efficient products, and I'll show you some upgrades to basic ceramic fiber in the next couple slides. But you know, it's essentially you're going to be able to heat up the equipment or heat up the product you're trying to heat up with less gas, because you're insulating the furnace a lot better, or less electric energy, any of that. Also, it's a little more, it's definitely a little easier to fix hot spots You don't have to do massive rebuilds to that. You can pump materials in. So yeah, it does make repairs a little bit easier and much more foldable. You can keep them in a maintenance budget, but not really have to break it into a capital budget for long repairs, which leads to reduced downtime. Which again, some of this stuff, reduced downtime isn't necessarily a decarbonization tactic, if you will, but it does allow you to make the case to management to make changes because it will help other aspects of your company outside of just going greener. So made in the USA equals greener. What do I mean by that? I think as anyone here in the US can attest to, we've got some pretty strict EPA regulations on a lot of different things. So if you're buying products from vendors and you're buying products that are made here in the US, those companies are likely facing some of the same headaches you're facing in reducing your. So you want to, so there's this, and there's a, I guess, trickle down effect is probably the best way to describe that, right? Some of the automotive manufacturers like that are asking you what your vendors are doing from a carbon standpoint. So, if you're talking to a vendor, if we have a vendor here in the US and they're explaining to you what they're doing, probably a lot more reliable and a lot heavier than what a vendor out of China may be doing. Transportation costs are a big thing as well. If you are making stuff here in the US, typically transportation is going to be a little bit less. And that's just a great way to, again, talk to your bosses about, hey, everyone wants to source stuff in the US, but sometimes pricing can be a little more. But if you can talk about these other things that are factored into decarbonization that are going to help you from a corporate statement, that can help you make the case to some of your bosses, right? Because if you're at a big company, they've probably got some sort of environmental decarbonization plan and policy, and these are types of things that maybe you're already buying from 80% of your stuff from companies that make it in the U.S. Well, put that in a presentation to your bosses so they can put that into a their decarbonization mission statement, right? And because it is real to be when you're buying from the U.S., you are helping the environment there. DOE grants, it's your money anyway. I got like 3 slides on that a little bit later, so we'll talk about some free money that's out there, and some of it's big figures, but a lot of it's small stuff for smaller businesses as well. So we talk about standard ceramic fiber and products like that, but there's a lot of new products out there that are helping reduce cold phase temperatures, reduce amount of energy needed, much more thermal or improved thermal conductivity here. And typically, and that's something that's really developed in the last couple of years, where customers have really been asking for, hey, we need to use less gas, we're getting all these pressures. So, and that's just being driven by energy savings. So, there's 2 products here just kind of show you what I would be talking about. The orange line is a standard DuraBlanket ceramic fiber blanket, and it shows the thermal conductivity at a mean temperature, right? The DuraBlanket LT is a new, much more thermally efficient product that came out about 2 years ago, and it shows the curve, same product. I mean, if you looked at them, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference, right? Maybe a little bit of handability, but the thermal conductivity is much better. And what does that really mean for, this is what it kind of means in simple terms is, if you have 8 inches of that material in a 1900 degree furnace, the cold phase temperature on a traditional ceramic fiber blanket be 169 degrees. On a new thermally more efficient blanket, it's going to be 156 degrees. What's that mean even more? Well, energy loss. So energy loss is 163 BTUs per square foot an hour on with the LT, and if you use the old stuff, 197. Important thing to consider here is this is not in a laboratory. This is you know, conceptually done. Realistically, once these furnaces start running, you know, you get little hotspots in there, and then, you know, you can do all those BTU calculators as well. But you know, this is from a pure math standpoint, what it will show, and there's other things that you can do, you know, to help reduce that as well. But the key point being in here is there are more thermally efficient fiber blankets out here than your traditional one, and you know, it's really with the decarbonization efforts, it's now is a time where that stuff's really been pushing forward. So, you know, overall that gives you a 17% energy savings on gas, you know, being used in there. Again, still would see a similar energy savings on electric as well, because again, we're going off the insulating properties here. So let's see how we are for time. Okay, and this is just a quick little heat flow program document here, just to kind of shows some of the same thing. We just did this on a little 4-inch lining, because I know everyone out there doesn't have massive industrial furnaces. So 907 is still obviously pretty hot, but you know, again, this does kind of go through, and these calculators can all be adjusted to, you know, like if you make the wind speed on the outside of the shell 3 miles an hour, it drops some of this stuff, plays with the numbers a little bit drastically too. So there's a little fudge factor in there for things like that. But in general, you know, there's heat flow programs out there where you can compare linings. You know, we could compare this with brick and show you the heat savings and all that. So, you know, if you have your current furnace and you're looking at different other linings, you're already going to do a repair, it probably makes sense for you to, you know, do the homework on this, or make your vendor or supplier do the homework for you. I always encourage that. And they'll be able to produce for you, hey, here's what the heat loss is, heat storage at different lining thicknesses, different materials, all that stuff. So you should be able, whoever your suppliers are for furnaces or furnace materials, should be able to supply you some hard numbers like that. Okay, electric element fiber. So a lot of people, you know, a lot of gas-fired furnaces out there, and some of them have to be gas-fired for particular production reasons and things like that. But you know, I'd say in the last year, we've probably seen more inquiries / conversations for electrically heated fiber modules, like you see in the picture here, than maybe the last 5 to 10 years combined. So you know, that tells me a lot of people are getting that pressure, because they are more expensive from a refractory standpoint, not total cost of ownership, but from a refractory standpoint. So it's saying that there's a lot of those pressures coming down, and you know, the box of a furnace is going to look the same or similar for gas fired or electrically heated. Obviously, controls, piping, and stuff like that is different, but you can switch over a gas-fired furnace to an electrically heated furnace, you know, if the price is right. You know, so this may not fall fully under the budget standpoint, because there is other aspects you have to factor in besides the refractory, you know, of SCRs, power sources, all that sort of stuff. But you know, you can work with your vendors, your suppliers, to put together an energy usage plan that can show some of these savings, some of these options over the course of 1 to 3 years. So that this is just to say, you know, there's options out there to switch your furnaces over from gas to electrically heated. Lots of there's a handful of factors going there. You know, type of application you're doing. It can't be done for everything, temperatures, off-gassing, all that stuff. But if it's something you're thinking about, you should be able to have a conversation, and your vendor should be able to help you get some of that proper documentation. Okay. Other element ways to heat a furnace as well. Glow bars, silicon carbide, some other rod elements. So there's a lot of different ways out there to heat a furnace. And if you're looking to buy a new furnace as well, most furnace manufacturers can offer electric options in addition to gas-fired options. So what kind of this kind of goes into what was driving some of the things we talked about, maybe 10 to 15 years ago versus what's helping drive that now. So, mid 2000s, price of gas was skyrocketed, right? So we had a lot of people asking us, hey, how can we save on gas? How can we better insulate our furnace? How can we do all these things? Now that was driven by not purely, but mostly at that time, money savings, not helping the environment. And we put a couple year stretch, put a lot of time and effort into that, and then gas prices dropped off. So there wasn't that big demand for making sure my door is perfectly sealed, for making sure I'm losing 100 less BTUs an hour. But then we all started to get a little more pressure from EPA, Department of Energy, Environmental Protection Agency, all the big bad feds saying, hey, you guys in these industrial sectors got to reduce your carbon footprint. So that's really kind of, in our mind, been the big driving force the last couple of years. But it's important to know, we saw a little gas spike in natural gas costs, last year or two. I don't have the updated figure here where it is in 2024, but there still is a significant cost savings to doing this, reducing your carbon footprint on a budget with making sure your furnace is sealed up better. There is cost savings there. It doesn't all have to be money going out the door, and more money coming in the door. Department of Energy, free money. Obviously, it's not free money. No money's free, but it is our tax dollars that are going into this. So might as well try to do our best to get a little bit out of it. And if you're going to the decarbonization summit in October, there's some DOE members there. I was just at a glass conference, had some DOE members there, and I know DOE has people at other IHE events and other industrial association events. But essentially what they have is a big pot of money on how, and they are giving it away to companies, not say giving it away, they're giving it to companies that are putting efforts out there to reduce their carbon footprint. And again, you'll see, and this just kind of talks about where a lot of the jobs and are in the industrial sector. But they have these grants like this. This one was from maybe a year or two ago, but and this is a massive funding amount, $104 million. You're going after money like that, you got to have a real detailed plan, probably a whole team together, and have all your dot your I's, cross your T's, all that good stuff. So if you are a big company and you do have big ambitions and goals for that, there's big chunks of money out there. But for all us little guys who are just, trying to make a few pennies here and there, you can look at a map like this, and there are tons of grants going out there. You get companies that you work with in the forging industry, they, got $30,000 to reduce some of their LED lighting. That's probably one extreme on there, but a lot of these are more based in real industrial problems and solutions. And there's a lot of money out there. I'd encourage you to go to the DOE decarbonization website. I'm sure Kelly with IHEA can get you some more contact with that. Put a little pressure on the any associations you're with to help you. Maybe not help you write grants, but help you locate that money, because they've got a lot of pull. There's a lot of I was at the glass show, and there's a lot of there's like 5 companies that were teaming together for a $2 million grant to improve something on a glass furnace. So you can team up with not only your customers but your vendors to push these new push some new projects or new ideas you have, and the government will help you fund those if you're persistent enough. So again, another way to reduce the carbon footprint, and if you can get the government, who's rightfully so trying to push a lot of this stuff, but they do have money to give out to help kickstart it as well. So kind of summary, Chiz Brothers, we work with our customers to look at realistic and affordable ways to help reduce your carbon footprint. You don't need a $10 million investment in order to take positive steps forward. There's, I think, kind of the general consensus on this, not consensus, general thoughts here on this would be, a lot of the things that you probably should be doing on your furnaces anyway are things that are going to help reduce your carbon footprint. So if you need to use the big decarbonization push as a reason to improve the maintenance on your furnace, whether your main goal is saving the environment or just getting a better run furnace, these key words and BTU loss, heat loss, thermal efficiency, things like that are real key words that can get approval from bosses, can get projects moved along, and make you look like a hero out there. So, and the last thing, I don't know if Kelly will talk about this, but the Industrial Heating Decarbonization Summit that IHEA is putting on October 28th to 30th, they got some real good speakers there, some great booth people, including myself. And it should be a great opportunity to talk to other people that are kind of in the same ball game as we are, with trying to balance this decarbonization monster, but also run our businesses and keep our employees employed. So that's about all I got there. I know it's probably more kind of practical, I guess, than real technical diving in, but happy to answer any questions anybody may have. I'll put my camera back up so you guys know I didn't put myself to sleep.
Thanks, Mark. I appreciate all that information. You had great tips, great information for everybody, and including the summit, of course. Just to add to everything that you said, we are definitely having a lot of the DOE speakers come in and address several different types of topics having to do with decarbonization. But also we have a speaker that will be addressing the grants and that are available to everyone, big and small. So, I know you talked about that too. So that's part of the whole summit. And yeah, just connecting with all of those vendors, suppliers. We will have tabletop exhibits there so people can, ask questions specifically on, what they need for their companies. So a lot of great resources there. And we actually do have a lot of webinars that were recorded throughout the year. They are available on IHEA's website. Under the sustainability tab, there is a past webinars page, and you can go through all of those titles. And if there's anything else you need to know, you can watch those recordings and listen to the recordings. But yes, just check out the details on the summit. Again, the website for the summit event is ihea.summit.org. Yeah, if there are any questions for Mark, you type those into the question panel at this time. And Mark, I do have one here. Is there a way to calculate how much heat BTU we are losing with refractory gaps?
Yes. So the heat, let me get back here. Yeah, so the heat flow program, will tell you that with heat loss here. In regards to, if you have a leak, really the main way to do that would, I guess, kind of be if you record it for a day without a leak and then with a leak, you can see some of that. But another thing you could do here, let's say, for example, we're talking about furnace where you've got a 4-inch lining and something happened and now it's only 2 inches, right? So if you put into the heat flow program, and again, this is going to be, theoretical program, it's not going to be the full real life, but you could probably get pretty close by doing like a 2-inch lining versus a 4-inch lining and saying, hey, this is worn down here, so we're probably losing X amount of BTUs versus if the lining thickness was in full integrity there. So yeah, I'd say there's probably 2 ways. There's the real world way, which is measuring how much gas you're using, which I know it can be very difficult. And then there's kind of the conceptual way of plugging the scenario of the refractory lining into a heat flow calculator and saying, here's what the numbers say we should be using, or losing.
Okay, all right. Here's another one for you. We recently saw a carbon footprint factor on a data sheet from Europe. Is that a trend here in the U.S.?
Yeah, I haven't been asked, or sorry, we've been asked to provide those, but yeah, we did have a project. I've seen a project that was coming from Europe, and the data sheet had the carbon footprint. I don't remember all the details that were on there, but it was a little surprising to me. They're usually a little stricter on that stuff in Europe than we are over here in the States. But again, some of that stuff could be factored into if you're, and I don't know all that much about the different tiers and everything, but if you're being asked by one of your customers, or if you're asking one of your vendors to supply their carbon footprint data, that may factor in there, but I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it here being required on U.S. products. Only products that have come in from Europe is what I've seen.
Gotcha. All right. And what about training programs out there for maintenance teams on some of the topics that you discussed?
Yeah. So, I always encourage customers, or anyone I talk to, really, is, make your vendors work for you, right? So if you have someone who's supplied you a furnace, or you have somebody who did a furnace lining, make them come in and, teach your people what they need to look for on that, right? Now there's also, I guess, kind of an IHEA plug in here too. IHEA does great combustion seminar. So, a lot of stuff I talked about was burner related. I didn't even get into, if your burners are not tuned and you're blowing more gas than you need, that's a good way to reduce your carbon footprint by cutting that back. So yeah, IHEA offers combustion seminars. Some of the other heat treat organizations, MTI, Heat Treat Today, they offer, kind of boot camp classes, training, if you will. But if you're looking for something more on a budget, aka for free, yeah, I always encourage people to, make the people you're spending money with already, make them come in and help your guys out and understanding that sort of thing.
Right. All right. Well, I think that about wraps us up today. I appreciate all your time, Mark, and delivering this webinar for us. Thank you all for attending today, and please watch for that link to the survey and take a few minutes to share your feedback for us. And enjoy the rest of your day, everybody.
All right, thank you. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.